Welcome in. Welcome. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. There are days where it's easier to do this show than others. It's not one of those days, Bo Brock. He's Bo Brock. I'm Johnny Venerable. Like this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Breaking news following the Cardinals' abrupt 21-point collapse yesterday to the New York Giants. Budda Baker is going on injured reserve for an indefinite amount of time. Certainly could be 3 weeks, could be longer than that. What do you got? You had a chance to speak with Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, there's some conflicting reports. I'm pretty sure it's 4 weeks. There's no retroactive. There's no retroactive as far as IR goes. Yesterday doesn't count. He was officially placed on injured reserve today. I could stand to be corrected. I don't believe that's going to change. But yeah, he'll be eligible 4 weeks from now to return from injured reserve, and everything that we felt that we knew to be true. Like Budda Baker doesn't miss games. He's superhuman. One thing is for sure, he's the heart and soul of this defense and this organization. They're going to be missing him for the next couple of weeks, no doubt about it, as he recovers from a hamstring injury that came out of nowhere at the end of their prep week for the New York Giants. They sorely missed him on Sunday, and they're going to continue to miss him the next couple games. I don't care who they're playing, actually. I don't care if they're playing Arizona State this week. They're going to miss Budda Baker.
It's frustrating because, again, when you watched our show Friday and we had not gotten the updates pertaining to his status, you just assumed that, just a little nick, he'll play Sunday. And then over the Twitter streets, the next 24 to 48 hours, it became evident to us and to others that no, he's got a real shot to miss the game. He misses the game. The game takes a horrific turn in the second half that he likely would have alleviated some of that because he's an all-pro safety. And now it's like, hey, by the way, you're going to be without your franchise quarterback for the first half of the season potentially. Now your best overall player and the heart and soul, Bo, as you mentioned, of your defense, Budda Baker, gone. I mean, it's a difficult blow, and I think it makes yesterday all the more frustrating. I'm not going to be naive and sit here and say like the Cardinals have a great chance to win one of these next 3 games, especially one of the next 2 weeks. They're already a 13-point dog this week against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, you need to try to grab one of these first 2 wins here, because I do believe there's going to be a ripple-down effect, a trickle-down effect now of starting winless. And what does that mean? And, of course, everybody externally has already started. Well, the Cardinals, what's the point, right? They've been competitive. Throw it away. Budda Baker's gone. No, I'm serious. That's out there. Like, why should they even compete? And I credit Gannon. I know a lot of people are coming after JG today, and rightfully so. It was a coaching error yesterday that led to the collapse. But, I mean, this team's they've covered and they played competitive football for 2 weeks, and they just continue to get blow after blow. It's really disheartening.
I mean, before the season even began in 2022, they were down tremendous as far as the shape of their roster. I mean, You were dealing with a retired center that you coaxed back out on the field who was not healthy. Justin Pugh went down. You had injuries all up and down. You had the suspension of DeAndre Hopkins. You were that roster and throughout the season was gutted and riddled with injury. Where this is brutal, right? I mean, absolutely, no doubt about it. But you look at it in how it impacts the game, where the Arizona Cardinals had like little to zero margin for error. Now I feel like they're in the negative now. Like as far as not having Budda Baker, I feel like they are in the negative and just have to make some good plays, just get back to neutral as far as margin for error going forward. And it's going to be important for them to figure out some depth. Now they signed Quantrez Knight, a guy off the practice squad from the San Francisco 49ers. You can watch him play in the preseason, and he looks like a very Budda Baker light type guy, torpedoing around ball carriers and on defense for the Niners. But, the Arizona Cardinals, as far as where they fell short yesterday, they have Andre Sachare playing 93% of the snaps, basically coming off and being elevated or signed off the practice squad. And then you've got the D line that was down to 5 guys that's supposed to be a rotation when they're playing 2 to 3 guys each and every down. And you lose Carlos Watkins early in that game to a biceps injury that could potentially be, IR worthy, just like LJ Collier suffered. So they're down big as far as on the back end of their defense and the front end of their defense. And we saw that, that just kind of festered into guys like Marco Wilson and the rest of the secondary having a tough day.
It's frustrating because, again, we think back to March and this team was not active in free agency, and people were clowning the front seven for this team. I'm talking specifically about their defensive line.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of people, this is like the worst collection of defensive linemen, and they proved us wrong in week one. And now it's kind of a shell of that unit. Now you lose your defensive captain and your secondary. And I thought Jalen Thompson and Kayvon Wallace played well yesterday, all things considered. Jalen Thompson's a really good player.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you can only sustain so many body blows. I mean, it's a talent league. It's a talent-driven league. I was going to come on even before this Budda news today and get on my high horse about, like, think about all the talent that's been subtracted. And you kind of done this already to this team over the last 2 years. Chandler Jones and DeAndre Hopkins and Rodney Hudson and Christian Kirk, Zach Allen, J.J. Watt, Byron Murphy, A.J. Green played good football once upon a time. These are guys that made up their starting units on either side of the ball. All of them have been removed, right? Some of them all pros, Pro Bowlers, and now this is what you're left with. And you're trying to mitigate and see, who can step up, who's worth keeping around. They did not go out and spend a bunch of money. They are supplementing a lot of their needs with draft picks, undrafted guys, journeymen around the NFL. And we understand, and we poke fun out of it. We understand what they're doing. In the grand scheme of things, it's about evaluation for 2023. But man, that's great. That's great Monday through Saturday. It's a great talking point for our show. I believe in the long-term vision. This is going to get more and more difficult for the coaching staff every loss they sustain. It's been 2 heartbreaking losses, and now you go into the juggernaut portion of your schedule, and it's going to be SOS Kyler Murray, come save us, win us a football game. I mean, they are not projected to win another game this year, one game, and I think some of these lines are going to get a little bit worse for wear when you factor in your defensive line. Yesterday looked like the one in the second half that we all projected it would be before the start of the year. Now no Budda Baker. I mean, it's going to take every ounce of coaching from Nick Roush and Jonathan Gannon, who I have immense confidence in. But you can't supplement talent in the NFL. It can only get you so far.
Especially at this stage of the season. I mean, They're in the off season. You got players available and you can trust your scouting. And I think they did a pretty damn good job of that with relative unknowns coming in and making impacts early on. And then those guys are even gone, and it's brutal. But don't you dare say that, Blaine Clark. Don't you ever say that. Never, ever say Johnny making me miss all those players.
But here's what I will say to Blaine.
Time with all those players. We'll never miss Kime ever.
No,
he's the reason that the roster is so brutally depleted. I mean, his inability to draft players, especially beyond day 1 and 2, and really didn't have a whole lot of success during those rounds either. It just crushed the depth on this roster. It was so top heavy, and it was built through free agency, and it was built through trades.
I agree with that. Not a smart way to build your team. I do think in the grand scheme of things, and hindsight's always 20/20, if this team is sitting in November, and I hope to the football gods this is not the case, and they're still looking for their first win, and the pressure mounts, and people start to bury them for this year even more so. It's just like, could you have opened up the checkbook a little bit in March and gotten some guys on 1 to 2 year contracts and front loaded that money? You're going to have $70-80 million next offseason. Like, you still have to play the games in 2023. And that was our point during free agency. It's like, I get it. Hoarding draft picks. I love that mindset. They're set up for success. Marvin Harrison Jr., Joel, give me everybody next April. We're going to talk about that. But like on a Sunday like this, on a Sunday against Baltimore at home, on a Sunday at Seattle, like, you got to have the horses to go in there, compete. You can't be shelving out a practice squad level front seven. And that's kind of the point I made on yesterday's postgame show. I'm like, everybody's frustrated, and I get that. And everybody wants to talk about Gannon not making adjustments. But like, let's be real. That front seven, that defensive tackle group in the fourth quarter yesterday, like, name me 5 players on that defensive line. Name me these backups and these safeties for this team outside of Jalen Thompson and Kayvon Wallace. And Kayvon Wallace joined the team a half minute ago.
Yeah.
It's only going to get compounded over 17 games. So it's a very tactical move long term. But you better ensure that you can get the chips enough this year. I mean, everybody knows last year was a disaster. They still won 4 games. I mean, like, Lions, circa
Still.
2008, right? 4 games they won.
I can't believe they won 4 games.
Right,
Sometimes.
but now it's like you don't have their 3 best players on their team 5 months ago are gone. Kyler, D-Hop, Budda Baker. I mean, it's going to be hard to win games.
Tore his ACL. I don't know what you can do about that. It's bad luck. It's part of the game.
You can handle the quarterback situation better than you did, so you win week 1 at Washington. We've talked about that.
Sure, I guess. But I'm not sitting here and saying, hey, you need to be more active in March. We know what NFL free agency is fool's gold. Like the different, like trying to identify the difference between a guy that you're going to have to throw, some guaranteed dollars on, and the guys that the Arizona Cardinals identified that fit their scheme. And one of the strengths of Monty Ossenfort. And I am all about trusting the organization right now and having this delayed gratification as far as wading through the rough beginning of this rebuild, because that's what it is. It's pre-flight. It's the beginning of the rebuild, and they're getting through this. And sure, it sucks to have injuries along the way to stars that you can't stand to lose. But I'm not sitting there and saying, hey, let's go give up $8 million so you can go get somebody who's above a replacement value, defensive lineman. It's just, I don't even think they were out there. It was a tough free agency for the position and draft for the position. And to say like Monty Ossenfort, go out there and just throw it out there just for, just so you can be a little bit more competitive. I would much rather stockpile that cap space, roll it over, take all that draft capital, and really, and especially with your scouting department, your front office in place, get after it in 2024. It was all about cleaning up it was hitting the reset button, cleaning up the mess from Keim and crew, and moving forward and keeping your head above water throughout the season. I don't think that's in danger at all of not being able to keep your head above water throughout the season.
I'm saying sign Javon Hargraves as a 30-year-old D tackle.
That's not what I assume. I didn't assume that either.
But I mean, like, you got to be able to put a product on the field that can help secure you wins this year for the betterment of the organization. Like,
they've led into the fourth quarter in 2 games,
but they haven't won either one of them. And like, you're talking about like they've fumbled the quarterback.
The NFL is hard. The NFL is so fucking hard. It is so hard to win, especially when you don't have like they're developing a culture. They've got their 3 main coaches, and Gannon and Rollis and Petzing. They're babies in this league. It's their first 2 games. Like, you're gonna take your lumps. If you didn't think you were gonna take your lumps, roster wise, coaching wise, front office wise, I think it's a bit naive.
I think it's and I'm not saying they're foolish. I think it's a foolish mindset to stash an additional $10 million of the $20 million you had and not go out and help your team this year for moments and instances like this to help fortify, because you win yesterday if you've invested at least a quarter more onto your defensive line, your potential pass rush, your secondary, right?
What do you mean? They got LJ Collier. He tears his bicep.
He's making like the vet minimum.
But they signed him because the organization viewed LJ Collier. What the fuck's the difference between LJ Collier and the guy that you're gonna have to pay the next salary on the NFL free agent hierarchy? Like, they realize that's fool's gold. NFL free agent, you said yourself, but he gets hurt. Lecky Fotu gets hurt. It's bad luck. You have 2 of your big defensive linemen get hurt. Being more aggressive for free agency, it doesn't help that. If it's not Fotu, if it's not Collier, it might be somebody else that goes down.
I am fearful for this team over 17 weeks for their opportunity to win games at this point, because I think you had 2 golden opportunities, and 1-5 is a lot different than 0-6, 0-7, 0-8. Save us, Kyler, right? You want to get to a point in the season where you can bank a couple victories, feel good about what you've done this year. I do not want the narrative for this team, and we are trending this way. You'd be naive to believe that this is not in the back of their mind. How long until we can win a game? Is it going to happen, right? Because then
I saw the Cardinals go up a power ranking recently. There are teams that are playing themselves below the Cardinals, which we know to be true.
Right.
And look, I understand. Like, that's all well and good, but let's not get crazy here and like, oh man, would you rather watch A win over Washington, a win over New York? Or would you rather see Marvin Harrison wear an Arizona Cardinals uniform next spring?
I don't think it's going to be the difference between Marvin Harrison Jr.
Could
being
be.
here or not.
There was a difference between Lovie Smith and getting this Houston team to win the regular season finale and them getting the top pick. It's close, man.
I'm a little fearful. Let's see if you're speaking this tune. If we're sitting here 0-5, 0-6, and K1's not back yet, and you're like, you know what? Maybe they should have spent a little bit of money to secure a W. Listen. They played well enough to win these first 2 games. They haven't, and now they've lost a bunch of players, and now the schedule gets really hard. So I'm a little bit frustrated with the fact that, hey, you know what? You get Dobbs here in March, you pay him like the $200,000 he wanted, you win week 1. Clearly, they beat the Commanders week 1 if Dobbs is here for 6 months instead of 6 days because of what we saw yesterday. That's frustrating. That was a mistake. You want to talk to me about culture? It was pinching pennies in March because you had a belief that Colt McCoy was going to be able to help you, which was not the right decision. That was dumb. That was foolish, and they paid for it. They're the reason, not the players, in my opinion. They're the reason they're 0-2, and they know that. And it's a joint effort with the coaching staff and the general manager. And I get it. Tank job. It's all part of the plan. It's all well and good. We can fool around with that. When are they going to get a W? Producer Damon, put the schedule up if you could. I want to see the schedule right now. I want everybody to tell me, because I was convinced they were winning one of these first 2 games. They should have won both of them. Where's the W for this team right now? Because here, if you guys say Houston, so you think this team at 0-10 is not going to be feeling the pressure to win a game. Of course they are. You want that for this group? You want that for Michael Wilson and Paris Johnson Jr.? No, you don't want that. Come on. I want these guys to know what it feels like to win and not have to play under the pressure of, are we going to go winless? Because the Lions and the Browns went winless in 0-16 seasons. You don't have D-Hop and DeAndre Hopkins and Budda Baker, and your defensive line is now practice squad eligible for the entire thing. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be really tough. It is going to be
tough. Hey, and we've preached that it's going to be tough. And it's going to be
saying Bears in the chat. We're going to see their first victory in
week
16?
That's not what they're saying. I mean, you just have to be patient. I know it's frustrating. Losses like yesterday are soul crushing. I've said that before. It's a punch to your gut, whatever you want to call it. It sucks to see 2 dubs get ripped from your eyes that you were watching back-to-back weeks. That absolutely blows. But at the same token, when I see this schedule and I see how they've played and I see the lumps that they've taken and I see that, this is a coaching staff that isn't going to just make the same mistakes twice, that there's wins on this schedule. You just have to be patient. Now, it's daunting week 3 against Dallas, and it's daunting week 4 against San Francisco. And we know what the Bengals are capable of if they can get back on track. And what the hell is going on in Los Angeles? Talking about a great coaching job going on there with the Rams. My God. And then, Seattle, Baltimore, Cleveland. But then you got Falcons. You got the Houston Texans. You've got, Pittsburgh that isn't played great. And then, you've got the Bears who have been god-awful. There's wins on the schedule to build confidence in a locker room and build confidence on a coaching staff. I think it's there. Just because these didn't happen, I think that if they get the wins in week 1 and week 2, or split,
we're not talking about it.
They do
make some house money.
I think with your house money and you're ahead of schedule, and that would be amazing to feel right now. But it's according to plan right now.
Whose plan? I don't like the plan.
Rebuild.
I don't like the plan that right now, if you look at the plan, is projected for them to be 0-17. I don't think they're going to go 0-17.
They're not going 0-17.
I don't know that. Hey, I don't want this for my franchise.
Tell the listeners, tell the viewers, they're not going 0-17.
I don't want this for my franchise to be. I'm not going to say it. Why? You can't win in the NFL. You don't have any players. Look,
it's 2 games into the Jonathan Gannon era. And you're sitting and you won't even tell the viewers, the listeners, something that you've been preaching for months.
Washington and the Giants are awful. Come on. That's why I thought the Cardinals would win. I said this team was going to win potentially 7 games.
Sean Payton know what he thinks about Washington.
Oh, my God.
Washington's 2-0.
I don't want to sit here in November and have this conversation with you again. Like everybody in the chat, they're trying to lose. We want to go.
Tell me they're not going to go 0-17.
Nobody wants to go winless.
Pull your big boy pants up and
I don't want Jonathan
everybody.
Gannon. I don't want Jonathan Gannon to face the rigors of should this guy be fired if they're 0-11. I don't want that. Like,
what have you watched the last 2 weeks?
I watched a team not add pieces in the offseason and then had 2 winnable games to start the year. They've lost both. And now it's the hardest part of the schedule. Get up, wake up. It's Monday, damn it.
You're killing me. I watched the team compete its ass off, and they fell short. They made mistakes.
Who is playing on the defensive line these next 3 weeks? Name me 3 players.
Arguably 3 of their best defensive linemen. And they lost their best player on defense. And they had the ball. Had the lead going late into the game. It is like watching your uncles fight. And one of them is way wrong. I think Johnny, were you drinking before this? Are you drunk, Uncle, right now?
I had some ice coffee, and I feel great. I feel really good. Listen. Yesterday's loss, it stings, and then this Budda Baker news comes down. It's just like I don't want this season. I did not expect this season to have this kind of ramifications of when are they going to win their only game, their first game? When are they going to get a dub this year? Right? It's not how I want to spend my fall. I don't want to do that. I thought that they would win one of these first 2 games. They should be 2-0. They're 0-2, and now they're losing players left and right. I mean, like 6 weeks ago, we thought there'd be a good chance Kyler Murray could come back for the first 2 to 4 weeks. Now it's like potentially what I'm hearing. It's like maybe week 6 to 8. Right. And then you got to be able to bring him along. It's just the pressure is going to mount. Like I love you like a brother. You are outside your mind if you don't think pressure is going to mount for this regime, even though this is all part of the plan. If you are staring down a big goose egg in the win column, like legitimately 13-point dog this week, according to our friends at DraftKings against the Cowboys. Right. And you can put out all the effort they did these first 2 weeks. It should be applauded 100%. I'm not being tongue in cheek. And then the talent gap starts to rise and you lose bodies. It's a defeating feeling. It absolutely is. I don't want that for my franchise. I said that from the start. I don't want Kyler Murray to have to come back and save this team coming off a busted up knee and they're 0-10, 0-8. That's a horrible place to be. And they only have themselves to blame. Like they bungled the quarterback situation. It cost them a win in week 1. And then the depth defensively is not very good. They're starting Elijah Wilkinson at left guard. He's got a 30 PFF rating.
Don't say that name on this program right now. I got a feeling that we're going to hear it probably a couple times later in this show. Let's get to these super chats. Everybody's crushing in the chat. Topic 64. Thank you so much for the $1.99 super chat. Loyal viewer, listener. Take of 2 halves. Tale of 2 halves. Sorry. Johnny's got a couple takes today that are bad.
What, my take is I think that they kind of botched these first 2 games with some decisions that happened 6 months ago. Yeah, that's my take. That's my take today. I'm disappointed. I can be disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't tell me how I can feel.
I'm not telling you how you should feel.
You're slumping in your chair, and
yeah, because the man I trust, one of the most that I trust the most as far as this market to tell the truth about this organization, can't even look into his camera and talk into his microphone and say that this team isn't going 0-17. Back to the super chat.
You gotta have players. They're out of players. We're running out
of players already.
We're running out of players.
Topic 64. Jalen's INT for the long haul, is in it for the long haul, guaranteed. I was so glad they locked him up to an extension before last season. Jalen Thompson with the pick. That was a great play. BJ Ojolari generating pressure on that play. And then, of course, Thompson picking it off. Thought there was a chance he might even be able to go to the house there. But they were able to cash in offensively as well. What is this super chat here? Is this Mike Kafka getting into this? Is he spending his hard-earned money? Hit the reset button. Absolutely. Then the $5 super chat.
Come
Told
on,
you so.
Kafka.
We appreciate the $5 super chat and you tuning in. You are welcome here. And then we've got trade Hollywood Brown for draft picks. Hollywood Brown touchdown yesterday. Nice little play design. Little easy pitch and catch.
There's something else too. Like people want to trade Ertz and trade. You're not trading anybody. You don't have a dub. You're not trading anybody if you don't have a win. Everybody who wants to hoard draft picks because you're looking toward 2024, and I get that. You can't, if you're Jonathan Gannon, like you go to Monty Osford, I got to try to get a win, my guy. You can't be trading my good players. That's not happening. No way. No way. A couple more super chats here. Sports Hero, $5. You guys are crushing already. JG's demeanor seems nonchalant and emotionless. He's high energy, and with these close losses, he would show more emotion and fight. Something's off.
You remember this guy?
Don't.
Remember him?
I do.
You remember Cliff making those big eyes from behind his play sheet?
I want the
guy
best.
Look rattled.
I want the best for JG. We were going to start the show today with like, why can't Gannon close games? And then the Budda news happened. Like, I will defend JG to the end of the earth. This is a very difficult roster to win with right now. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
I
agree with you on that. That's why I just think that, especially, where this roster is, where this coaching staff is, where this front office. I mean, Monty Osford, as much as we sing his praises, I get on the top of Camelback Mountain and I want to scream to all the people that Monty Osford is the truth. He took a misstep. The Joshua Dobbs thing, to your point, was a massive misstep. Getting him in March, he would have looked a lot better week 1, and that would have been a win for the Arizona Cardinals.
I also think teams play above their talent level and expectations when they don't know better at the beginning of seasons. And I think that things start to level out over the course of the year. That's a real concern of mine. You can play above your head at the beginning of the year, and then everything else kind of settles down. Now, I'm hopeful that they can take these young players, especially offensively. Like, I'm much more bullish right now. It's funny, a week later, the talent level of the offense is very capable. I'm concerned about the lack of bodies defensively. JG and Rallis, like, yeah, yesterday was bad, but I mean, come on, look at that. Look at the names on the defensive stat sheet. These are guys that probably should not be starting in NFL games.
I mean, it was really tough how the week presented itself. The Collier injury, the Josh Woods injury, and then Budda in the 11th hour. I mean, those are tough things to predict. And it puts you in a tough spot on Sunday. And your, like I said, your margin for error, you're almost, at a negative. And to take Budda out of that, and then to be with where you like to have, and JG said this today at his press availability, like, obviously you want to spread the rotation out and the snaps out a lot more than he was able to do, and Nick Rallis were able to do on Sunday, where you're running a 4-man rotation for 3 spots at sometimes. And that's just not enough. Your guys get gassed, and you saw them get worn down. You absolutely saw them get worn down. Let's check back in on some of these super chats.
Yeah, this is Topic 64, another friend of the program, another super chat, $9.99. Thank you so much, Topic 64. I remember Buffalo, Cincinnati, San Fran, Dallas, Jacksonville. I remember when those teams were sorry. Look at those teams now. We can bounce back, and it takes time. I have no concern past this year. They're going to have so many assets, resources. It's a superstar draft class. They are going to own the draft. We've seen how they've embraced draft picks. It's everything I want. Again, the long-term vision, Bo Brock, Topic 64 is this is the right coach, the right leadership, the right GM. They're going to have superstars on the team next year. I want this team to not have to worry about when their first win is going to come. And that is my immediate concern. And I think if you ask them behind closed doors, hey, would you have shelved out an additional $5 to $10 million to secure a win earlier? Fuck yes, they would. 100%. Right? They don't shake your head at me. They absolutely would have. They would have said, you know what? Hindsight's 2020. We should have spent just a little bit more so we wouldn't have to worry about this. Go ahead.
Would you gone out there and spent, money? I'm looking at the defensive linemen. It's like, will you go out there and get yourself like a Linval Joseph will you shell out a couple extra million for him?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just don't think that they brought guys in that they trusted, that they thought were fits for the scheme. They got hurt. It was more of a numbers game as far as who was available, instead of a numbers game as far as they didn't want to spend. They just looked at the free agent crop, and they saw guys that they thought were going to fit the new scheme. And we saw, at least in week 1, and we saw in the first half, when guys had, fresh legs and fresh lungs, that they were effective to shut him out.
Then what happened?
Then those snaps kept piling up, and you had Andre Saucheray playing 93% of the snaps, and you had guys on the D line that were playing a ton of snaps.
New reality.
Lecky Fotu and LJ Collier and Carlos Watkins were all hurt.
Okay.
So, just my point. Sorry,
I appreciate it. I appreciate this. $5 free matter for the blind super chat. Disagree if you want, but I just don't see any good players coming in as free agents if we can't get more than 2 wins. Kyler is our only hope. I don't disagree with that. Like I think
guys were running to Chicago when they showed them the briefcases of cash that they were going to spend on them. Like
I thought he meant for this year. Like, yeah, you can't. I don't think there's anybody worth signing right now. Like maybe Kareem Hunt, because I wasn't super impressed with any. Like Amari Dermacado didn't look very good, and Keontae Ingram, was not James Conner. Again though, like the defense is my immediate concern. 100%. My calf got $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. And I mean, it's a tough day. We're working through some emotions and we're doing it together. And I might have to gamble my way through it. Frankly, there's a couple Monday night games tonight. For my DraftKings pick of the week, how about a double parlay for your boy? I like the Browns money line parlayed with, let's say, the New Orleans Saints. I think Dennis Allen and company going to make Bryce Young look relatively average again. So there's my DraftKings parlay pick of the week. Money line for the Browns, money line for the New Orleans Saints. And right now we can save you some coin using bonus code PHNX. Things are heating up in the ballpark. If you're following our precious Diamondbacks, they are clinging on to that last wild card berth by hook or by crook. And right now you can make some money on postseason baseball here in September. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets by betting just a mere $5 on baseball. Right now, you can do it. Take advantage of some September baseball, some pennant runs. You absolutely love to see it. And do it with our friends at DraftKings. What are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that bonus code PHNX. Again, new customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets, just $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Only with bonus code PHNX. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. We're excited. Terms and conditions apply. Check out the resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after. So use them now. Eligibility and deposit restrictions do apply.
You got to get yourself up to Shady Rays in Scottsdale. They got the store there at Kierland Commons. Unbelievable product line, premium polarized shades for not a premium price. They like to keep their sunglasses well under $100, and they look great. They look just like those major name brands that you're spending a lot of coin on, 150, 200, somewhere upwards of $300 on sunglasses, where you don't have to pay that type of price for Shady Rays. I've got a pair of Shady Rays right here. I got them from the store there in Kierland Commons. Use the promo code PHNX, and I got the deal, 50% off 2 or more pairs of the polarized shades. They got the fully polarized shades. They got the 50% polarized shades, which is great if you're going out there hitting the golf course. You don't want to have too much polarization. They tweak it and they make it, and they try to get these sunglasses up to the standards that you need your eyewear to be at. And why not save some money while doing so by using that promo code PHNX either at the store or online, shadyrays.com. That's shadyrays.com with the promo code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Get and try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by 250,000 people.
You've heard from us jabber on about Budda Baker and the state of this team, Bo, but you had a chance to chat with the man in charge, Jonathan Gannon. What did he have to say as it relates to the all-pro safety missing some time?
This is the move they made today.
Yeah, he's going to miss some time, but he'll be back. So put him on IR today, but he'll get ready to go here pretty soon and be ready to roll.
He'll be back. He'll get, obviously miss some time and then be ready to roll. Obviously, contrary to what, some people are saying out there on the Twitter streets, everybody's saying, oh, he got hurt on Friday, did he? And saying that there's more to this. Like the relationship between Budda Baker and the Arizona Cardinals, like he didn't just say, hey, I'm going to start to hold out again in week 2 after the performance from the defense in week 1. That didn't happen.
He got a pay raise. I mean, he's all in. And I do think he'll be back.
Yeah. as far as trying to, fill the void left by Budda Baker, this is how JG says Cardinals are going to have to approach that.
We got to rally around. You're never going to, replace a Budda Baker, but we got guys that we feel comfortable getting the job done, playing winning football for us. So, everyone's just got to do their job, and we'll be okay.
Well, I mean, it's going to take Monty Ossenfort really getting out there, obviously patrolling the available players out there, practice squad, and they feel like they've got a guy in Quantrez Knight, and obviously Sasha Ray that was on the team before, who's signed to the active roster. That you saw some nice things from him on Sunday. You got the good and the bad. Obviously, later in the game, you probably would have liked to see just better play across the board defensively. But I think Quantrez and a mixture of Sasha Ray and obviously the addition of Kayvon Wallace and what JT brings to the table in the safety room should be enough, right? I mean, it's not like JG said, you're never going to replace Budda Baker, but it just by flooding the position with a few numbers should be helpful.
I like with Girthquake 416 has to say, I agree with it. Budda played with one ankle last year. I don't believe a hamstring is going to be worse than that. And I agree with that. And I also think that if there's a time for him to miss, and I'm never one for like sacrificing games, but like get him healthy now. And maybe his timeline can sync up with Kyler Murray's timeline. Who knows? Like get your best players back, soft part of the schedule, stretch run this year to be able to play good football. Like don't double down, compound this and make it worse. And I also think, to your point, like Gannon is a safety savant. That's it. I think that's the best position he coaches. He was fantastic with Reed Blankenships of the world in Philadelphia. So like, again, you're never going to replace Budda Baker, but you can mitigate it. And I asked you this on the postgame show yesterday, like had Budda Baker gotten hurt Monday or Tuesday practice, like they're probably much more prepared for that instance. Right. And so they'll settle down. My concern, while you would obviously love to have Budda Baker, is not as it relates to the back seven. It's the front seven. It's the big hog mollies, the people that can get pressure. I mean, Daniel Jones did whatever he wanted to yesterday in the second half. Specifically, they were missing 2 starting offensive linemen, and the Cardinals really could not do anything with a pass rush. They had 2 sacks in the first half and none in the second half. That's my biggest concern. Where is the interior pressure going to come from? They ran the football effectively with Saquon Barkley. The only reason that they had a third down in the second half in that closing possession was they were just trying to set up for a field goal. Like, does anybody think that the Giants wouldn't have scored that last possession had they had more time on the clock, scored a touchdown? I mean, like you just can't fake quality defensive linemen. And now you're missing a bunch, what you conceive were a bunch. And I don't know where those people are going to come from. And that's my initial point. Just the investment or the lack thereof.
Yeah. It puts players in. When you have a player the caliber of Budda Baker and he takes over so much of the responsibility on defense, it just puts guys in positions that they're probably not comfortable in, and it has a domino effect, and it's going to continue to have a domino effect. But it's odd, like the offseason that they had, a kind of an embattled offseason for Baker, obviously with the report of a trade request and not being at the facility throughout that entire time until mandatory camp, and he was there, but he wasn't practicing. And then he showed up once training camp happened, and once that, a couple of the raises knocked in. I wonder if there was at least some advantage to getting a guy like Sasha Ray and getting some of these guys that they had on the fields during 8 OTAs and some of the practices throughout the offseason, those reps that they wouldn't necessarily have if 3 was out there.
Yeah. Again, I don't have concerns about it in terms of being prepared, looking prepared. And they looked prepared yesterday, frankly. They were fantastic in the first half. They didn't miss a beat. Kayvon Wallace has been a tremendous pickup for them. So again, you could almost make an argument maybe they should go sign another corner or just get the best defensive back you can, because you have 2, I think, starting caliber, certainly with Jalen, but then Kayvon Wallace, starting caliber safeties already. Coincidentally, it was a position where they had a surplus of quality players. So hopefully the landing spot's a little bit easier. But man, it's going to be tough now. I mean, the line, as Michael in the chat saying, you're bouncing between 12.5 to 13. I mean, the Cardinals have covered each of these first 2 games. Can they keep it going this week? I hope so. Again, I don't want this kind of shadow to fall this team all year. I wanted, as did everybody in the chat, my co-hosts, this victory for Jonathan Gannon and these players, because of the immense belief that I have in this regime. And we got to wait another week. In the meantime, who's trending up, who's trending down, Bo Brock, for this Cardinal team after a lackluster Sunday? Let's start with you, trending up for the Arizona Cardinals.
Let's take a look at it. Dennis Gardeck, my God, he is one more trending up away from being on fire. This guy is a man possessed out there, racked up his 3rd sack of the season. Just looks awesome. He fit in the scheme so well. Saw him in coverage, saw him get after the quarterback. Love what I'm seeing from Dennis the Barbarian Gardeck. And then you've got James Conner. I know that people wanted to see James Conner put that game away on the ground. And it looked like he was doing that early in the second half. And then, I don't know if you want to call it bad play calling, bad blocking, bad running, but James Conner over his next 6 runs wasn't as effective. But you loved what you saw from Conner. He looked fresh. He looked good in this offense. Went over the century mark as far as rushing yards and had a touchdown. James Conner was, a bright spot and is trending up. And then for his first 2 games of his NFL career, 6th overall pick, Johnny, you put it out there on your Twitter account at Johnny Venerable. Paris Johnson Jr. has not surrendered a sack. What is he? He's given up 2 hurries. Is that the extent of any pressure he's given up?
So there are 3 categories: pressures, hits, and sacks, QB hits. He's given up no quarterback hits. That's after the quarterback delivers the football and then you allow a hit after the fact. I mean, he's basically been almost perfect in pass protection as a 21-year-old rookie, first-year starter. I mean, it's chef's kiss. It's fantastic. But he was already trending really up for me. You can't get any higher for Paris Johnson.
But through 2 games, I mean, I was envisioning very positive Paris Johnson performances, but not allowing Joshua Dobbs to take any hits. You couldn't ask for anything more.
It's perfect when Kyler Murray comes back with this offense and how it's situated. And I mean, Kyler Murray wanted Paris Johnson Jr. and he wanted CeeDee Lamb and some of these other players. And Kyler's looking pretty good with his draft resume here in the first round. His projections, that is. Creed Humphrey, ring a bell. All right. I like your picks. I agree with all of them. I think they're all doing well. Gardeck in particular. I can't put Gardeck on mine because, in all actuality, I'm going to have to buy a Dennis Gardeck jersey. Our guy DG yesterday was telling me he was going to get Gardeck to come on the show, which I'm scared for my life if that happens. But here's my trending up. Josh Dobbs, everybody wanted him benched. Everybody wanted him buried last week. I mean, he played not a flawless game, but my goodness, 28 points for this kid. Had a tremendous rushing touchdown. Looked efficient. What you can say about Josh Dobbs, he's got a live arm. His arm strength is evident. He is not hampered athletically. And kudos to Drew Petzing. They have harnessed that and put a really solid game plan. Like, of course, you'd want more scoring drives in the second half. But, man, 28 points from Dobbs after no touchdowns a week ago. He's the perfect bridge to Kyler Murray whenever K1 comes back. And when K1 comes back, I'm assuming he's going to target number 85.
Well, can I jump in on Dobbs? And I completely agree. Complete polar opposite performance from week 1 to week 2. He was way ahead of where I anticipated him being watching the week 1 performance in week 2 and him coming out there. And if Matt Prater hits that opening drive field goal, Josh Dobbs has led the Arizona Cardinals to 6 scoring drives, including 3 touchdowns to open the game. They didn't have their first punt, unfortunately, until that when it really mattered, when the defense just couldn't make any stops. But Josh Dobbs in the offense, and under Josh Dobbs, he does everything that you need that's necessary to compete in this offense.
Some of those throws yesterday were alarmingly good. Like that throw on the run to Rondell Moore that, thank God, they didn't overturn. That was fantastic. The 3rd down throw to Michael Wilson. Like, these are not chip shot throws. I think he 100% gained a ton of fan base or fans in this fan base, I should say. He was fantastic. Hopefully he can build on it. Right now, people have more tape on him, but he and James Conner together, that was a tremendous battery. Cardinals rushed for 150 yards and 5.5 yards per carry and still lost the game. I don't want to talk about it.
Where are all your defensive players? You didn't have any defensive players in your trending
up on the screen. Let's see him. No, I didn't, because they didn't perform. Trey McBride. You basically labeled him a bust, I think, earlier this offseason.
No, I didn't.
He's fantastic. You didn't. I'm just kidding. Highest rated PFF player for the Cardinals on offense, almost an 80 grade. Explosive, catches the ball when thrown at him, gives you immense yards after contact action. I'm not here to bang on Zach Ertz, but anybody with, watching this game just doing the eye test, Trey McBride's a better athlete right now, and he's turning it, in my opinion, to the best overall tight end on this roster. I love the usage of tight end by Petsy in particular. Feed Trey McBride, feed Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson led the team in receiving yards, 56 receiving yards yesterday. Again, what this team needs to focus on this year. Bo mentioned one of the contributors in Paris Johnson Jr. Paris, McBride, Michael Wilson. These are your significant building blocks for 2023, 2024, and beyond. These are the guys. These are the guys that you want to build around with Kyler Murray. Big, physical, right? You think of Michael Wilson, big target. Trey McBride, physical, big target. Paris Johnson Jr., blue chip, prototypical left tackle for the first time in 20 years for this franchise. These are guys that we've coveted and we've built up, and you see it now. It's evident. These guys are playmakers on Sunday. With all due respect to some of the tweener players and the smaller players, not everybody can be Dennis Gardeck, where it's like he's the outlier, right? Blue chip players like this is Trey McBride was tight end 1 2 years ago. Paris Johnson Jr., OT1. You know, Michael Wilson dominated the Senior Bowl. He's big. He's a prototypical outside receiver. As disappointed as yesterday was, if I'm looking at silver linings for that game, it was the contribution of these supplemental secondary players to Josh Dobbs on offense that fast forward to December, January, I hope they play, knock on wood, no injuries, and get so much better, because that's the future of this team right now. Yeah,
no doubt about it. And you see Trey McBride, he only gets 2 catch opportunities again this week, right? But he makes big plays. So you want to see him get more involved. And then I loved what I saw from Trey McBride as a blocker.
Yeah.
I mean, Trey McBride was a bulldozer out there. You look at how he graded out. He was grading out as far as run blocking, higher than some of the, he had just by a hair, a little bit better than Paris Johnson Jr. He was out there moving guys around. They were utilizing him in the rush game and in the pass game. He was out on the field consistently. I thought I saw 86 Zach Ertz come off the field more than I saw McBride, at least early in the game. So, I mean, the coaches are paying attention to where they want to develop these guys. And then Michael Wilson was huge on third down. 2 huge third down conversions that I thought were massive for the offense and its ability to score points in yesterday's game. And Michael Wilson, another one of those guys, like 2 catches in his debut, 3 catches yesterday, leading receiver as far as yardage. And you want to see that continue. I'll take it just being, slow, incrementally getting better, but I'd love to see him pop off too.
Well, Trey in particular, I mean, he had a kind of compromised training camp. He missed time with injury. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's playing his way back into game shape. He's playing his way back into Petzine's offense. And I thought it would take longer. Like, when they showcased Ertz and he's running with the ones and he's tight end 1 on the depth chart week 1, I'm like, oh, could this be a situation we're not going to see Trey get significant snaps until like mid-season again? Please don't tell me we're doing that. Thankfully, this coaching staff knows when they have talent, they're going to play talent. They're going to lean on talent, like Keitrell Clark in particular, that let's give these guys the snaps that they've earned, because they have immense upside. So again, we're taking our lumps today as a fan base on this podcast with how the team performed in the second half, but there are building blocks for this offense, supplemental pieces, right? Not everybody can be an ace. Somebody making big time money, 8 figures, huge money for this team, Pro Bowler, all pro. But man, you need these second and third tier options to build a sustainable winner. And that's what Steve Keim could never do. And I know Keim drafted Trey McBride, but like Michael Wilson at the end of the 3rd round, and he's leading your team in receiving yards. I get it. People don't love the Cardinals this year. That's a big deal for this franchise, who has been allergic to finding key contributors, Bo Brack, in the 1st round. Monty Ossenford, like, I'm ready to declare that a huge success. Like, to me, it's the only thing that will stop, knock on wood, Paris Johnson Jr. is an injury. He is going to be at minimum an above average tackle that makes $150 million guaranteed one day from this franchise, if not one of the best tackles in the NFL. Like, the trajectory of Paris Johnson Jr. is right now 3 to 5 best tackle in the NFL. And that's exactly what you shoot for as a top 5 to 6 pick. And Keim could never understand that. And Ossenford in his first draft said, nope, Ohio State blue chipper, we're taking him. I mean, it's not easy, but man, he made it look easy his first draft.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the players trending in the wrong direction. Johnny, you want to give yours first, since I went first on the...
I was so positive, and now I'm not positive. Elijah Wilkinson, when they signed him, I was frustrated because I'm like, well, no way they're going to start him. And then they started him all of training camp, and they're in shorts, right, in OTAs and mini camp. Oh, he looks fine. He was okay at practice. The games have started, and he's got back-to-back weeks of sub 40 PFF grades, and he's been the biggest liability up front. Like, they cannot run on the left side. Where are they running right now? Will Anderson or Will Hernandez and Paris Johnson Jr. Like, DJ Humphries is not at a great start to the season, but I think some of that can be added to the fact that Elijah Wilkinson's playing almost like a replacement level player. Like, get some help. If he can't do it this week, and this is a hell of a test against Dallas, their front seven, and Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator, Marquise Hayes, you throw him out there. I see some people saying put Kelvin Beachum. I don't think Kelvin Beachum gives you anything at left guard, but that's one of those things where I think a lot of us were like, I don't love that. And so far, so bad for Elijah Wilkinson. Cam Thomas, to me, like, this was the guy I picked to lead this team in sacks this year. Where is he? Where was he yesterday? Like, I get it. Dennis Gardeck, you're riding the hot hand. B.J. Ojulari's picking it up a little bit. Zaven Collins had a half a sack. Like, this is a kid who's got immense strength and power. He can dominate against the run when given an opportunity. Coaching staff maybe needs to be a little bit more creative with how they get 97 on the field. And maybe this is a byproduct, Bo, of all the injuries at defensive tackle, and they're having to move things around on the fly. I don't know. Maybe you can shine some light on that. But to me, it's when the Giants are doing whatever they want, I don't see 97 out there. That's a problem. And then Marco Wilson, to me, at once upon a time, I thought he's in line for a big extension. Like, I think Keitrell Clark's the best cornerback on this roster right now. I mean, Marco had a tough day with his ability to cover one-on-one. He had a tough day with his ball skills and got beat, a handful of times. He had one of the lowest PFF grades for this team. His technique was off. I have immense confidence in Marco Wilson, the athlete, and I think he'll get better. But again, if he doesn't have a pass rush, it's going to look like that. Whereas Keitrell Clark was playing one-on-one on the outside. I haven't seen Marco Wilson do that in a hot minute. So I'm not down on them significantly outside of Wilkinson, but Cam Thomas in particular, Bo, that's a troublesome game yesterday.
Yeah, I'm curious, how long they'll move forward with Wilkinson and the penalties and the ineffectiveness and pass blocking and run blocking and basically everything that he's paid to do. I haven't seen numbers that I didn't think Pro Football Focus went that low. I mean, he was right around 20, I think I saw, in pass blocking, and that was from a performance where Joshua Dobbs was unscathed, right? But man, I mean, if they could, why not see, maybe this like an Elm Manning that they picked up off waivers, if they liked him enough to give him a roster spot, why not see if he can compete out there? Could it get any worse? I guess it could. Like, you could get your quarterback hurt, but
right.
I mean, that's like the last thing that's left for Wilkinson to do. And luckily it hasn't gotten that far yet. Let's look at who I've got trending down.
Yeah.
I'll say that about Cam Thomas. I haven't been I'm kind of indifferent there wasn't much good or bad from Cam Thomas yesterday. Elijah Wilkinson's absolutely on my list. Need to see better play from that position. A lot less laundry on the field, especially when you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole, get some momentum back on offense. Marco Wilson, you could visibly see that he struggled. You could see it in the grades, and you see the talent there. You saw how well he played in week one. It kind of sucked, and you saw him play well in the first half too, but struggled immensely in the second half. It brings him to trending down, but certainly a guy that can get back on the upswing of this thing. And then look at this picture. If you're watching on YouTube, you see Daniel Jones. That's not a game at MetLife Stadium. In the background, there is just a sea of blue shirts. And it was just disappointing to see not just a smattering of blue shirts, but an overwhelming Giants contingent in State Farm Stadium. And I know that there's rebuild going on, but we are here to help this. And I want to get the Red Sea on track. And with Dallas coming to town, it's going to be bad. I just want our fan base to be excited about this new team. And I know that 20-0, relinquishing 20-0 leads and 28-7 leads doesn't help, but it would help to have some noise control in there when on offense and making a lot of noise for the opposing offense out there on the field, trying to navigate its way back into the game.
I mean, that's a great call out, and it's disappointing. I don't want to see that on trending down, but it is trending down. I fear it could get worse each of the next 2 weeks. or 2 home games. Cincinnati's got a big fan base. And then, of course, the Dallas Cowboys this weekend could be the worst of the worst. So, I mean, Chase says it in the comments, you blame the ownership. Yeah, it goes back to Michael Bidwell. I mean, they've had a really, really tumultuous 24 months, 18-month period. And this was a stadium that once upon a time would sell out. They would tout the sellout streak. Like, you're dysfunctional on and off the field. Like, you don't get the benefit of the doubt from the fans. So here's what I'll say. I want people to go and support this team. Do it on your own accord. This is your money. You decide what you want to do. It costs a lot, right? To take a family to go and buy concessions and to park and then watch a team not win for 2 years at home or win 1 game at home, right? You got to roll the dice if you're going to get, a star player or 2 to practice. Now Budda Baker's out. That's hard. People want to see star players. They want to see wins, but they also want to see a spectacle. It was an event to go watch Larry Fitzgerald play football, even on bad teams at State Farm Stadium. Like that, you lose that now. So again, kind of back to my original point today. Hey, like you have investments that you're choosing not to make. You're keeping your money, right? And you're going to go through a tough year. Like this is a byproduct of that. Like everybody's got to eat a big shit sandwich this year. And that's really unfortunate for Michael Wilson and Paris Johnson Jr. and these young players. Oh, this is what it's like playing in the stadium. Is it always like this? Where are our fans at? It's like, I don't know, man. It's imploded over the last 18 months. Our GM is a disaster. We had to fire him. Our coach was a little bit of a fraud. He's gone now. And now, like, where's D-Hop? Where's Chandler Jones? Where's Rodney Hutt? All these, where's J.J. Watt? Like, that's the ghosts of Cardinal past. And now it's just that's what this team is right now. And we hope that these players can turn into stars and people will pay money to see them because they're all pros and they're on national TV and NFL Network. This team has 0 primetime games this year. They're not projected to win 1 game this year. And then they didn't invest in the team financially. So it's like, this is what you get. So like, I understand, like, we're going to have a conversation. Fans are frustrated about it. I don't want to hear a GD thing from the Cardinals. Like media group, publication, ownership, shut the fuck up. Like, this is your fault. This is the product that you prepared. You don't get to complain about it. We do because we can't control the controllables. This is on you. So you have to eat it. You think Michael Bidwell is going to enjoy sitting up there in the owner's box and watching, 60,000 Cowboy fans or whatever it is this Sunday? And he's got people on his board of directors, people that support the, the franchise and people that have ad money and stuff's coming in. It's like, where are our fans? Well, you got to earn their way back. They got to come back. And the only way to do that is to develop star players and win games. And they're not close to doing that right now.
What was that? Before we get to these super chats, I want to say, I'm curious about Josh's chat here to Jordan P. And yet, AZ Cards fan podcast, you're going off about how we're be trading for draft picks yesterday. You blow with the win. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Is there an argument going on in the chat? I thought it was more about the conversation about the fan base. But I completely agree with all your points as far as, wanting to show up, wanting to spend your hard-earned money. And it's not an indictment on the Arizona Cardinals fan, because the Arizona Cardinals fan, we talk to them every day. I mean, they're in our chat. They're in our mentions on Twitter. They're passionate. They're just as diehard as any other fan base out there. It's just unfortunate to go to a stadium, and I understand the circumstances, and see an absolute just half and half fan base versus fan base, and watch, Giants make big play after big play, and the stadium erupt in support of Daniel Jones and the G-Men. It's each and every week it changes. It's fluid. And, I hope that as far as the Cardinals go, and, as far as the State Farm Stadium crowd, it trends in the right direction to more Cardinals fans over opposing fan bases.
But again, I think it's naive to think it's going to improve immediately. I mean, it's going to take Kyler Murray coming back and playing good football. This team's going to have to, God forbid, string a couple wins together at home. Like, you have to earn people's time, attention, and money, right? People will support, obviously, the Cardinal brand, maybe from afar, but to invest time and money on a weekend with your family, away from your family, it's asking a lot for a product right now that's won 2 home games in 2 years, have lost 6, 7 in a row. They're 5-20 in their last 25 games, and potentially only an opportunity to get worse. It's tough, man. So I want people to go to the games. When I have an opportunity, I go to the games with my family, but I'm never going to ridicule people for being like, this is just not something I'm interested in doing right now. I can't spend a bunch of money to go watch Josh Dobbs play football. Like, you don't have to apologize for anybody for thinking like that. Again, I said it on the post
you
game.
missed an electric touchdown run. I mean,
that's true. That's true.
I mean, if you're cool with that,
yeah, Arizona Animal Bidwell already said months ago it's about next year's draft. Yeah, they've come out and basically said, like, we are loading up resources and assets for 2024. But again, my argument,
and they're coming off of a regime that said we're never rebuilding. So it's a complete change and pivot to where you go from one extreme to the next, where you're wearing out resources trying to be competitive each and every year, and you're not doing a very good job of it. And then it's like, hey, we're going to be draft and develop, and we're going to invest everything we can into scouting college players, and then obviously getting ourselves draft capital in order to invest in those players. And then hopefully once they're developed, sign them to extensions, and then keep that cycle going, to where before it was a vicious cycle that didn't lead to sustained success. So this is the very beginning of that rebuild and the regime change. And it's going to come with lots of lumps, no doubt about it.
If you want to eat your way through your lumps with the Cardinals this year,
your pain,
may I recommend Illegal Pete's? So much fun. It should be illegal. This episode of PHNX Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Illegal Pete's. Patio beers are here, and because it's NFL season, they're margs, the strongest in Arizona. I eat and drink my sorrows away at Illegal Pete's. It's a great time. It's a great time, like on a night like tonight, little Monday Night Football action, custom cocktails, tacos, salads, burritos, nachos, bowls, whatever you want. Legal Pete's is your go-to spot this fall by stopping by happy hour, 3 to 8 p.m. in all 12 locations. Illegal Pete's, the go-to stop for burritos, buddies, beers for 28 years, Bo Brack.
That, and of course, new product that you want to take advantage of, our friends over at Wink. Wink and Countdown. Get yourself some drinkwink.com, DRINKY, or WYNK.com. It's a seltzer with THC. Seltzers are all the rage here, but this doesn't have any alcohol in it. It's got that wink of THC. Of course, summer is not a spectator sport. Neither is fall. Maybe load up Sundays for that THC to CBD balance that you want, that golden ratio with Wink. And also check out its sister product and get ready for liftoff while you're doing so. For Countdown, it's that nano emulsion cannabis infused beverage that delivers sky-high blast with powerful flavor. Go to drinkwink.com, figure out where you can buy yourself either Wink or Countdown. They've got it, of course, in 12 states nationwide, including Arizona. You can find them in the Sunday Good dispensaries in the Valley. But, of course, you can find where they're available the fastest at drinkwink.com.
I also want to tell you guys about Fubo TV. So excited. Right now, it's tough to find things like the Pac-12 network, but not when you have Fubo TV. Pac-12 has been fantastic this year. Maybe not ASU, but I still support our Sun Devils through Fubo TV, 140 live channels, sports, movies, news, stream live TV from any device and watch immediately. I love the no contract, no cable, no hassle. I just signed up. I'm watching every single football Saturday. College football is here with Fubo TV, as well as Cardinal games. How about the U.S. Open for tennis, the Ryder Cup? It is my sports go-to streaming service. Watch your favorite college football and NFL with Fubo. Go to www.FuboTV.com/PHNX to sign up. 15% off your first month with Fubo. But I mean, it's been an emotional time for the Arizona Cardinals. You can read about that more at gophnx.com. Our guy Howard Balzer, tremendous article, aftermath of yesterday's game, some historical context, which you knew you give up 21 points. There's going to be some historical context with that. But become a diehard. Our guy Brian becoming a diehard last week, already in the Discord, having fun, chatting it up with Cardinal fans. Like this show, it's therapy. Become a diehard today.
Yeah, I was in the Discord all of yesterday's game, commiserating with everybody. Giselle in there, everybody having a good time at the beginning, and then watching the collapse happen in real time and keeping the chat going like we have each and every day on this show. It's fun in the Discord. The only way to access that member Discord, of course, is to become a diehard. Go PHNX.com and the PHNXlocker.com.
If you're interested in dabbling on the game this weekend in person and supporting the Arizona Cardinals, boy, oh boy, do we have some news for you. How about a ticket giveaway, Bo Brock, at State Farm Stadium this Sunday as the Cardinals take on the Dallas Cowboys? We are giving away 2 tickets. It's going to take place this Sunday, and the drawing is going to be during one of our shows this week. How about
Friday.
September 22nd, a Friday drawing? The Cardinals take on the Cowboys, and we're giving away 2 tickets for you and a person of your choosing. I cannot participate, so I can't take you, Bo Brock, but you'll be at the game anyway.
I will be at the game. Scan the code right now if you're watching live, or sign up for our new daily newsletter, and you'll be entered to win. You can find more details, of course, on our socials at PHNX_Cardinals to win your way to see the Arizona Cardinals pull off the upset against the Dallas Cowboys.
Would love that. Would love all of you to hit that like button. I know we're in the midst of a doubleheader for Monday Night Football, but Bo Brock, any final thoughts or takeaways as we hopefully close the book on yesterday's collapse against the New York Giants and move ahead officially to Washington?
We are going to have a busy Tuesday. We're going to get to talk to offensive coordinator Drew Petzing and defensive coordinator Nick Rollis, get their thoughts on, of course, the collapse from yesterday. And I'm sure there's going to be, it's going to be a long day for Rollis, and hopefully he's got some answers. And then we also have our next edition of the All-Purpose Podcast tomorrow at 12:30 with Greg Dortch. He'll be back in studio. We'll be chopping up with the Arizona Cardinals all-purpose player Greg Dortch. So look for that tomorrow at 12:30. Programming note, we're going to be later tomorrow, right?
Ooh.
What time are we going to kick off?
Cards After Dark with Johnny Venerable and Bo Brock. You put the kids down right, crack open a cold one. Bo and I will be live. How's 7 o'clock sound? You know, dinner's over. You can come turn on the old YouTube. Bo Brock and I are breaking everything down. Arizona Cardinals tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Cards After Dark. Special programming, one-off potentially, but we got fun stuff planned throughout the day. Check out the Greg Dortch podcast, the All-Purpose Podcast. Thank you so much yesterday for helping make the post-game show one of the highest shows we've ever done here at this network, specifically for PHNX Cardinals. We appreciate all of that, the likes, the supports, the subscriptions. It means everything to this podcast, Bo Brock.
Absolutely does. It's only going to get better from here. Believe me when I say it. Wins, they will come. Johnny, one last opportunity. You going to say they're not going 0-17?
Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. For Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you tomorrow.